Hello and welcome to day 33 of 99 Days of Deeper Embodiment. My name is Jason King, and I have with us today a special guest. Her name is Celeste Holyoke, and she is with us today. Wonderful. So, there you go. Now, no more names at the bottom. So this is day 33 of 99 Days of Deeper Embodiment. Let's just take a moment and pause and just feel into the space, beginning to come into resonance, heart to heart, as we are in the space together. Feeling deeply into the heart, coming into deep presence here and now. If you are joining us on this live stream and watching, I'd love if you post a comment so that we know that you're here, so that we can say hi. Wonderful. So, today I'd like to introduce my special guest, Celeste, and she is here with us to share her own story of embodiment and how she had met a situation in her life, and I'm going to let her talk about that. And that situation in her life brought her deeper within herself. Good morning, Alex. Good morning. Good morning. It's wonderful to hear from you and see you. I hope all is well on the East Coast. So Celeste, meeting the situation in her life, bringing deeper presence to it, then the whole situation resolved in time. Is that right, Celeste? So you came to a full resolution around it. Okay, wonderful. So I'm going to back up, and I'm just going to let Celeste begin to share because it feels the most fun.
Thanks for having me on. Yesterday the topic of Ho'oponopono came up, the ancient Hawaiian practice of forgiveness. And I mentioned to Jason that it was very instrumental in a few different pivot points during my healing journey, one of which was with breast cancer. So I had this excruciating pain in my body, and it was stage 4 at that point. Couldn't keep food down for about 2 weeks. So it became more and more intense to separate my mind from my body and figure out what was truth and what was just clouding my judgment. I was attempting to reverse engineer what had caused cancer in my body. And most people can Google it and research glyphosate in all our foods here in America. It's a Roundup chemical that's pretty prevalent and can cause some issues in the body. But I recognized that mine was emotionally based. And so I went through and wrote down 40 names of people either I needed to give forgiveness to or receive it from for things that I had done and felt guilty about. And little did I know how powerful this being present, kind of closing my eyes or doing a mirror affirmation. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. Collapsing all of the memories and the timelines to that present moment, acknowledging feelings that I previously had sort of buried away, tucked away, and avoided, coming to the surface to be released. And so it was in forgiveness of specifically one person who violated my personal space. And when I came to that point of forgiveness, that was the turning point in my healing process. And so in 2 weeks, was able to heal stage 4 cancer, by approaching it from a holistic, radical responsibility sort of take. And I felt through some other uncomfortable things. Like, I wanted to relate to my grandmother who had passed 9 months prior, and she had had breast cancer and a double mastectomy. And so I recognized that a part of me was grieving her death and didn't know how to grieve. And so it may have been a subconscious thing, but in relating to her or longing or missing her, I recreated her circumstance in myself. And some other ugly things too came up of just, okay, well, it's a possibility that I created this cancer, C word, experience in my life so that I can relate to the Cancer Club people, and have a story of connection that I can use in speaking or healing or working with others. So I was willing to visit any of the sort of ugliness of reasons why it might have been showing up in my experience. And I didn't point fingers or blame or have judgment towards myself or to any of these others in the process, but took the responsibility upon myself to face what needed to be felt through and to fully commit to that. And when you're in sort of this excruciating pain at death's doorstep, it makes it a little easier to be willing to like buck up and face the tough emotions. But had I not been in that circumstance of sort of this test of, are you willing to live and are you willing to face what it takes to clear out of your body what you need to in order to continue living? It's an interesting thing. So I know that what Jason talks about, embodiment, can seem like a beautiful, airy-fairy topic, but ultimately grounding it in can sometimes be an ugly or unfun thing to face. But I'm just here to share that story, that it can be a very beautiful unfoldment when you're willing to sort of do the work, face the truth of the situation, and hold yourself in high enough esteem and in this bubble of love that you're willing to face whatever it might have been that created a difficult physical, emotional, mental, or spiritual ailment that's showing up for you.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing this, Celeste. Is this the first time that you're talking about this experience in a public forum like this?
Yeah, I mentioned it briefly on one of my live streams on my Facebook about a year ago. It was like the 1 year anniversary of the healing. So I really didn't speak about it the whole first year. I wanted to protect my healing and make sure that other people's thoughts weren't going to affect it, which is something that I'm aware can sometimes sabotage our attempts at healing, as if we're kind of really open about it with a lot of people. They can hold judgments or other things that are unhelpful in the process. So I protected it for a year, and I've spoken about it kind of in one-on-one or small groups in person, and then once online. So this is my second time sharing online.
Wow. Wow. Thank you for sharing this. This is really amazing. So there's a couple things that stuck out to me. It's like, one, first of all, you healed stage 4 cancer in 2 weeks. So, oh my God. Like, oh my God. Like,
impossible, guys.
Yeah, like, I just want to emphasize that here, because this is what we're talking about. Stage 4 cancer healed in 2 weeks. So here we have a notice that says, you're dying. There's something in you that is killing you. And then that hits you. What does that feel like? What is that initial feeling?
There's all kinds of the egoic, I don't want to lose my real boobs. There's just the real notion that something outside of yourself has power over you too, and you feel pretty helpless and weak and sort of in this victim state, and you can buy into it, which is what I was doing that whole first week, and it was just getting worse and worse and worse. But I needed to
Okay,
feel
so
into
the
it.
first week you were buying into what this voice was telling you, and what was the voice telling
Oh
you
yeah.
specifically? Like, let's get
Oh
into
yeah.
that.
All the worst case scenarios, all of just facing all of the worst things that I had ever done, all the bad decisions, shaming myself to like the nth degree, the worst kinds of thoughts that you can
Wow.
have in judging yourself
Wow.
and really like making yourself face the music by saying like, here's all the
So
horrible things you've done in
where were
life.
you?
All the
Where
people
were
you
you
lied
when
to.
this was coming up for you? Were you by yourself? Who was around you?
It was just my brother and myself in our parents' home. They were actually on vacation for that whole 2 weeks. And I
Wow.
didn't want to tell them. Um,
Yeah.
he was caring for me and making me freshly squeezed like juices every day because we knew that alkalizing the body was a physical way to sort of approach healing.
Yeah.
Um, so he got me alkaline pH water and was making these fresh juices. I couldn't keep any of the green juices down, partially because they were super gross. They had like beets and kale and all like the heavy green stuff, but it was really scaring him. He wanted to take me to a hospital and go that approach, and he knew that I prefer to take a holistic approach. And so I also had what in Christian Science is called a practitioner praying for me for those 2 weeks. So she's able to kind of be outside of the level of pain, the excruciating pain that I was going through. And so she was just holding the truth for me in that standard
Okay. So
of knowing that I
when
am
you say the truth for you, what does that
whole and
mean?
complete.
What does that mean?
The truth of my soulful being, that I am a reflection of God who is untouched, whole, and complete. So really
Okay.
not buying into the picture because she's not there, she's not feeling through it, she's not seeing it. So she's able
Uh-huh.
to hold that vision of me in my perfect selfhood.
Okay. So
And
as
so that
she's
was
holding
extremely
the
helpful as
vision
well
of
to
you,
have.
as she's holding that vision, or maybe that idea of you as whole and complete always, then how does that help you touch it? Like, where are you touching that vision here?
So in that process, it felt as though I was being held, right, by love's complete container, if you will. So similar to this embodiment container that you're creating, it for me was that container of understanding that anything and everything can be healed without
Okay.
any medications or traditional methods.
Okay. So you're starting from that premise. You're starting from that idea that anything and everything can be healed simply through belief. Wow.
Well, yeah, through prayer and through my upbringing, I also had another cool healing where I had a broken ankle that healed overnight, and I ended up running like 6 or 7 miles the following day to prove that it was fully healed. So
Okay.
I had already seen some like miraculous healings, not just for myself, but for other people in my family and nearby, that I knew it was possible to heal through prayer alone.
So this is a really fundamental point or idea that is necessary to truly begin to embody, and that is the power of the mind.
Mm-hmm.
So if the mind is holding on to limiting ideas and limiting beliefs, and that is where we are at, we are giving energy to those limiting ideas and limiting beliefs, then all of the energy of presence of spirit that can be in my body in this moment is being given to those limiting ideas and limiting beliefs. So initially you're like, oh my God, I am a body, I am in peril, there's something happening to me, there is a threat here, and that is the idea that's being energized. No?
Oh, 100%. And it was sort of that life flashing before your eyes moment where you're forced to face up to all of the highlights and sort of low lights of the memories of your life and
Mhm.
review and say, is what I'm holding in this memory serving me or not? Drop it or transmute the feeling that's there.
I see. Okay, so now that's another part of embodiment, right? So now here's the idea that says I'm a body, I'm in peril. And now with the embodiment perspective, I can recognize that there's an idea here. And the idea says that I'm a body and I'm in peril. And now, what is the feeling of that idea? The feeling of that idea is panic. It comes up in the body. Now I have to react to it.
Oh, big time.
So now I begin to react to
Mm-hmm.
it. And so this is describing your first week after finding out, right? So now you're in this process
Yeah.
of reacting, and in this process of reacting, you're telling your brother.
So
You're
I'm worried it's a lot worse.
oh my goodness! Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so then in that, there's very little actually of you present. There's all reaction, there's all energizing the thought. There's very little presence here. There's just idea. Idea that I'm a body and that I am ill. And so all the presence goes out
Mm-hmm.
and begins to energize this idea. There's very little ability to actually respond to it from a deeply present state. So then the panic that's being felt because of that idea, because of what that idea actually feels like in the body, that panic itself begins to create a spiral, which we can probably call a death spiral. No, it's like you begin
It
to just
totally
spiral into this sinkhole where everything around you is asking you to just react all the time, and then it's just heavier and heavier and heavier. So it feels like to me that this woman who held space for you, she actually made it easier for you to not fall, for you to not sink into that sinkhole of spiraling thoughts that are all feeling very, very panicky and very heavy. So by holding that
Mm-hmm.
space, what you're calling see me in the truth light of truth, then it made it easier for you to stay in a place where you were buoyed by love, where you were held up by someone who isn't agreeing with those ideas.
Oh,
What a
100%.
what a powerful thing right there. It's like, okay, yeah, I'll
Mm-hmm.
hold you in the light of truth. I am not going to agree with those ideas. I'm just going to see you as you truly are,
Yeah.
and that will buoy you. That will give you some sort of a cushion where then you can begin to sort through those ideas yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Well, what's interesting, it's now been about 2 years. It was February of 2018. So in that time, I've helped others through their healing process and told them to their face, look, you can tell me about all of these problems that you're having, but I'm not believing it for you. And it
Right.
triggers them. Oh, they don't like it at all. They don't understand that that's compassion. That's truth. I'm not going to buy into your victimhood story. Sorry about you. I'm going to stop you right there. This is how we heal this.
Amazing. All right. So in triggering them, then what do we see? We see that there is some ownership there, right? If there's a trigger here and that trigger says, "Oh my God, who are you to tell me that you're not going to believe that I have a problem?" Right? Then there's some ownership there. There's some ownership in the sense that where is the problem? Like where is it exactly? Yeah, right. Oh, okay. Wow. So it's in the identity. It's like, oh, I'm believing that I have a problem, and you're not believing with me. You're not going to believe that. All right. So yeah, I'm mad at you because you're not playing my game with me. You're not going to believe that with me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so then that gets projected back out. And so here you are, a week in, you are no longer going to buy into your own victim story, you're going to start to empower yourself to actually self-heal, which is something that we've talked about in this series so far, that there is self-healing capability when you're embodying, when you have the ability to touch the source that you are, when you have the ability to touch that presence, which is the life that is all, then you have the ability to change your ideas about yourself. You have the ability to touch those ideas, see those ideas, drop those ideas, dissolve those ideas, and then in that, symptoms clear. Powerful stuff, right? So here you are, and you find yourself, you find your life force being sucked into these ideas where there's a lot of panic coming up, and this is rapidly depleting your strength. Then a woman comes and she's able to hold space for you in a way where you're buoyed up again. And then in being buoyed up, then you find within yourself the ability to empower yourself with thoughts that actually allow you to begin to embody again. So how did that go? Like, what thoughts were you actually using to empower yourself?
I was going from the porcelain toilet to climbing up and looking in the mirror and saying those ho'oponoponos. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. Looking myself in the eyes, barely being able to hold myself up, but saying those words over and over again. And I think they actually teach you to say, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. But I've learned to say I love yous on both sides, because I think love is the most powerful force on earth. So it should be doubled. But but in any case, saying I'm sorry to myself for letting myself down, for not being of integrity or of the type of character that I knew that I was up until that point, I think it began to allow me to have some movement and some freedom. Up until that point, I think I had just filled myself up with so much crap, really, that I was trying to bury myself.
Wait. What is crap specifically? So let's get into the specifics of what is crap. Because I know that when you and I are talking together, that we could like lighten it up a bit, because there's a certain kind of understanding around this, like what is crap.
Yeah.
But when we're bringing a whole bunch of other people into the circle, and we need to open up the conversation with vocabulary. So crap might be something like voices of criticism, voices of judgment, voices of fear, right? So I like to kind of like pinpoint what the crap actually is, so that we can see it. So
the crap was being this like drug addict, alcoholic, unhappy person, and building up these memories of regret. So I felt the self-sabotage of my own character and soul being a huge part of what weighed me down. That's what sort of like the crap that was filling me up that I needed to clear.
Okay, so there was a lot of guilt, shame, and regret as far as charges that were attached to memories. So emotional charges that were guilt, shame, and regret. And these were attached to memories of your past. And they needed to be met.
Oh, yeah. Choices that I was making to purposefully drive the people who loved me the most away. Too.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. Okay. So this just feels like a really nice place to just feel that love filling the heart, being present with that love, allowing forgiveness to wash all of that away, fully and completely. You're always 100% loved, 100% accepted. Everything that arises is arising in the innocence that you are, always. We could never actually misstep, because we are always that innocence. There's never actually anything that we could ever do wrong, because we are always that innocence. Ooh. And so this is seeing one another in the truth of what we are, in the light of what we are, where there's no judgment. There's always acceptance. There's always only love. And this seeing has the power to embody. we embody this. We embody love. Yes. So how did connecting with this vibration and allowing this vibration to fill your body begin to liberate the symptoms of cancer for you?
You know, in feeling some more self-acceptance for imperfections. I think I had, up until that point, always done everything to like look the right way in life and sort of build this American dream that other people had set out for us that it's supposed to look like. I bought my own house. I had this big job up in LA. I was being the successful daughter to my parents, but I wasn't following what my soul wanted to do. It was just going through the motions at that point, and it felt like a continuation actually from in high school, being in like 10 extracurriculars and being of that sort of era where the baby boomer generation didn't have parents at home when they got home, so they would like play on the streets and do wild stuff. So then when their kids were born, they got structured activities because they knew what they did with their free time. So I was always in structured activities and like led a certain direction in life. And I just kind of mindlessly followed that path instead of taking stock of what is it that I'm really skilled at or that I love to do, and how do I build that into a career that I love. And so it was acceptable for me to be in financial markets and to be this advisor to other financial advisors. But if I wanted to pursue my musical passions as a full-time job, that would be like an unacceptable career choice because it would be the starving artist path.
Wow. Wow. So what began to be revealed for you, what you revealed for yourself through this, was that by moving unconsciously with the path that was given to you through social conditioning and not actually moving into your own heart and feeling what it is that was the passion that wanted to come through you, how life wanted to express itself through you, what is life's unique expression through you, that by not ever doing that and feeling that for yourself, that what you were actually doing was creating cancer in your body.
It was all the unexpressed emotions and truths that I had just bottled up. And it really began, 8th grade, I knew I wanted to be in entrepreneurship and build my own small business and all of this. And it was unacceptable when I told my parents that I didn't want to go to college. It was like, no way, you have to go to college. There's no choice about that. So I went. I'm glad that I did now. I understand how everything ends up working out perfectly. But had I voiced my truth loud enough, I wouldn't have gone to college. And I would have attempted to start my own little smoothie cafe and wraps and whatever else I had at that time that I had wanted to build a business for. But those regrets, I had to face them and let them go instead of continuing to bottle them up and pretend like they weren't there.
So are we going to see Celeste Smoothie Cafe at some point?
No, I've written many business plans since that time. That was one of the first ones, though.
Oh, wow. So really, really amazing in actually getting in touch with all of these regrets and actually getting in touch with all of these charges and allowing yourself to feel through them. Then cancer began to clear from your body. What did it feel like as cancer was clearing from your body? What was that experience like?
Actually, it was instant. It was, as I mentioned, it was one particular person that I needed to forgive on a deeper level. And this was the guy that raped me, right?
Oh, my
I
goodness.
said earlier, he transcended personal boundaries, but he had been a best friend of 3 years.
Okay.
And when I was in an intoxicated state, and by the way, people who still choose to numb out with their drug of choice, there's a reason it's called intoxicated,
Yeah.
right? I
That's
was in an
funny. That's
intoxicated
funny.
state.
You know, I was also raped when I was drugged by a bartender, and I was raped afterwards. And the drug was a drug that still kept me conscious, and so I was conscious, but I couldn't move. And so I was conscious throughout the experience, and I couldn't say no. There was no ability to protest. There was no ability to stop it. And yeah, so I really, I can feel that with you. I can feel that, that disconnection, the disconnection created through that experience. And so how that disconnection can then, when it's not being met and felt fully and completely, can then create a disharmony in the body that would cause symptoms like that. So instantly in meeting that disconnection within yourself, instantly in being able to forgive fully and completely, then the symptoms resolve.
And
How
it
did you?
felt so I love like really descriptive metaphor type things. And it was like unplugging the drain for the bathtub when you're done with the bath and just watching that tornado water go down the drain. Like it was pulling all of the darkness out from my body and draining it. It felt
How did you
like
know that it
100
was?
pounds of psychic weight lifted off my chest.
Oh, so you could feel it. You could feel it leaving your body.
Yeah.
What did it feel like?
Yeah. I mean, all of a sudden it was just that aha moment. And then it was like a complete dissolution of, in that moment, I knew the cancer would be gone. Even if it wasn't physically going to show up on scans as gone, I knew it was over for cancer. So, so having that, all of a sudden it was like a renewed faith, if you will, in myself, and understanding that I came here to overcome some pretty major obstacles, and this was one of them. And what was interesting, and I like to talk with people about layers of the onion of healing. So at that time, I was able to forgive him and say, sort of like the biblical, he knew not what he did, right? And then a year following that, I actually came around to feelings of gratitude for that rape experience because of everything that it's brought me to and all of the cascade of other healing experiences and other ways that I've been able to lift myself up because of that traumatic, if you will, like the low level experience of life in that category.
So being able to meet this fully in yourself, being able to meet something so grotesque, right, quote unquote, actually was able to transform it into something that is the catalyst for deeper and deeper embodiment, deeper and deeper awareness within yourself, deeper and deeper honesty and authenticity, and the truth of you coming into form in a much stronger way.
Yeah.
Wow.
And just, it surprises me to this day for healings that have already happened or passed, that the layers of the onion start to peel back and peel away, and you do have deeper and deeper levels of that healing continue to benefit your life. So, I mean, holding that healing of the breast cancer for a year in private and really not talking with more than 5 people about it helped me come to that space of, when revisiting, okay, this is healed, and I know it's healed for good because it was an emotional thing that I needed to face up to. It was also revisiting.
Let's pause right there, because I needed to face up to. There's actually like some sort of hardness there, so I want to like, yeah, there's a need to be with it. There's a need to be with it. So I just want to lighten that up a bit, because when we say face
Totally.
up to, super masculine. It's super masculine. Like, ooh, I need to face up to it.
It was because I was avoiding. Oh, well, this gets into a whole other category, but
So I love the force, like the force of your mind in the ability to hold power. It's like super empowering. Like I needed to face up to it, and now I faced up to
Yeah.
it, right? Now we drop it, and we drop it fully and completely. I can be with anything. I can be with anything. Why? Because I am what moves everything. So I can be with anything.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Incredible. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. It was taking that radical responsibility, which sounds like a hyper masculine idea, but it actually is, it can have a feminine softness to it because it's that empowerment back into yourself where you've given power away to these victim circumstances. I'm no
Mm-hmm.
longer the victim of my circumstances. I'm the creator of my life. And so I
Awesome.
understand how
Awesome.
that was
Yeah.
created. All
Okay.
those
So
experiences
this is
were created.
what I really felt needs to come out in this conversation. Is that yes, it is a masculine empowered idea. However, it's a masculine empowered idea that's being used to embody a feminine wholeness.
Mm-hmm.
Like here it is. Here's a feminine wholeness. I am a full being. I am a creator. This is all mine. I am owning it. Wow.
Well, and rape is a jagged idea, right? The second you hear that word, it's heavy and it's boxy and it doesn't feel good. And the feminine needs to flow. So how do you open up the dam, so to speak, on and release the floodgates of the feminine flow? And that really was to release any held idea that I was a victim of my circumstances in any case.
Wow. Wow. This is major, right?
Yeah.
Ooh. So anytime we hold on to that story, that victim idea, then it immediately saps all of the ability to be present in us. So as soon as we pick up that idea of being a victim, then there's no presence at all in the body. It's all in the story.
Oof.
Whoa,
Yeah.
amazing, right? And so then what happens with the body? It actually begins to die. It like begins to transition out because when there's no presence in the body, then what is left?
Yeah.
Wow.
I think now that I talk to people with illnesses of all types, I really tell them, look, illness in the body is just like a, hey, pay attention to me, sort of like, you've been ignoring me for long enough. Pause your life and like stop and just collect yourself again, which is a beautiful opportunity to pause, take a rest from the way that things have been done and the processes and the habits and all of it, and be a catalyst for change in your life for the better and reevaluate everything.
Okay. So I feel like this is a really good place to bring this to a landing.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Celeste, for sharing your very vulnerable and amazing empowerment story as far as how you were able to move through something that is typically so scary for us. It's like, oh my God, I am really scared of this. Like cancer, the C word is one of the scariest words that can show up for someone. And then I'll use that as a sign that, oh wow, there's something here that I need to look at, and then begin to look at it and transition it into a tool for greater and deeper embodiment.
Mhm.
Thank you. Thank you for
Absolutely.
for really being a part of this amazing transition that we're having on the planet Earth, in being able to openly speak about these things and sharing the wisdom of embodiment with others.
Absolutely. And if I may say, what's true for one is true for all. So the fact that if this story has empowered you to believe that you can rise above some tough circumstances in your life right now, know that even if one other person on this planet has healed through what you're going through right now, then it's possible for you. So
Okay, there's some beautiful thank yous here in the comments. Thank you, Wesley, for being with us. Thank you, Alex, for being with us, and Aiden and Luis. We love you so, so very much, and I'll see you tomorrow.